Greetings! Welcome to the Fortress of Dorkness, the nerdy nexus for your geeky needs. I'm your host, Christian Villarreal. Making movies can be a stressful and frustrating process. Some movies take years to develop for technological reasons, because of a rights issue, and maybe they were conceived by one director and finished by another. Some movies wind up in a term that you've probably all heard before, production hell. And some movies should have just stayed there. In real history, we look at the creation process for films that had unique, intriguing, or sometimes outright convoluted backstories. The film that jumped out the fortress window, fell into the moat, crawled across the bridge, dodged the portcullis, and jumped back into our loving arms this month is Eon Productions' James Bond 21, eventually to be known as Casino Royale. Our journey begins in 1953. The war is cold, the color red is scary, and a British genius by the name of Ian Fleming pens the spy novel to end all other spy novels, James Bond's first adventure, Casino Royale. But 1953 wasn't important. Nope. In fact, it was the following year that opened the doors to our baby's troubles. In 1954, CBS Climax adapted Casino Royale for television, with one interesting exception. Bond was an agent, but he wasn't British. As you can imagine, it was a giant failure. Meanwhile, in Egypt, Gregory Ratoff, a nefarious filmmaker who was trying to smuggle money out of Egypt, was at an airport one day doing just that, and he made an oath. And the oath is summed up like this: Please, if I make it out of here and I'm not arrested, I will buy the rights to the first book I read a review of. Suffice it to say, he made it out of that airport. And when he picked up a copy of Time magazine, the first book that he read a review of was Casino Royale. Ratoff acquires the rights and immediately begins work on a script with Lorenzo Semple. Once again, there is no trace of our titular hero James Bond. The excuse this time was that they thought the character was stupid. The script was never filmed, and by 1960, Ratoff had passed away and the rights to the book transferred to his friend and fellow filmmaker, Charles K. Feldman. Meanwhile, in intelligent hands, the team of Harry Saltzman and Albert R. Broccoli acquired the character rights of James Bond, and in 1962 they decided to actually release a film doing the character justice. This film is Dr. No. After the enormous success of Dr. No, Broccoli and Saltzman's Eon Productions decided to continue the franchise to garner even more success. Distributor MGM decides to buy the rights to Casino Royale from Feldman. After getting all pissy about it, he decides to make the Bond film to end all Bond films. But it backfired on him, and the end result was nothing more than rioting in the streets and escalating love for Eon Productions franchise. Yes, you heard that, rioting in the streets. The following year, Feldman kicks the bucket, and the rights get split between United Artists and Columbia Pictures. 3 decades of increasingly creepy Grandpa Bond films go by. MGM absorbs United Artists, Sony acquires Columbia Pictures, and in 1997, the legal disputes begin. Enter Kevin McClory, the man who held on to the film rights for Thunderball since the 1960s. Yeah, this is the guy that made the Bond film that nobody saw, called Never Say Never Again. McClory convinced Sony to produce their own Bond films, which inevitably leads MGM to take Sony to court. In 1999, Sony and MGM reach a deal. MGM acquires the full rights of Casino Royale, and in return, Sony gets the full rights to Spider-Man. In a strange twist of fate, as of 2004, Sony distributes all of MGM's Bond films, which technically means that Spider-Man and Bond are now back at Sony. In 2006, after 50 years of legal disputes, Eon Productions finally releases their franchise-fixing, realistically rebooting, poker-playing Casino Royale. Quick side note, there may be a few other reasons why they decided to go with a more realistic approach, but here at the fort, oh my god, what am I looking at? Wow, that ring is as stupidly convenient as Hal Jordan's POS. Besides all of that, after the millennium, Bond finally had a rival franchise in the Bourne series. We're not saying anything, but we're just gonna throw some numbers up and let you be the judge. We hope you've enjoyed our videos. If you have any questions, comments, or snotty remarks, leave them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on our Facebook and Twitter. This has been the Fortress of Dorkness. I'm Christian Villarreal, and as always, we'll have explosions next month.
No. Do it right.